the perspective of Richard here is the assumption that being a joiner is being better than being a splittist. You know, that unity is better than factionalism, etc. And that sounds on the face of it very plausible. But I think what's being ignored here is the extent to which you give up the capacity for having any personal initiative, for any personal innovation, or for any of your personal ambitions when you sign up for a group like PETA. Unless you're at the elite level of that organization. You got a new idea? You got something innovative you want to do for the future of veganism? Here's your clipboard. Get on the street, start raising money door to door, right?
À-bas-le-ciel.
We have a lot of discussions on this channel about effective activism, about what you and I can do with our time as individuals if we care about the future of veganism, if we care about the future of the movement, or even if we just care about the people in our own lives, trying to get your own grandfather to convert to veganism, trying to get your own girlfriend or boyfriend to convert to veganism, whatever your situation may be. Okay? We talk about it at a large scale, we talk about it at a small scale, we talk about it in philosophical and emotional ways as well as explicitly political questions of organization. If there's one thing we all know, everybody has got something better to do with their time than standing on the sidewalk with a clipboard asking complete strangers to donate money to PETA. Most of us as vegans, we ourselves do not want to donate money to PETA. And we don't want to donate our time to standing there on the sidewalk, walking up to strangers, asking them to support PETA. And it's really worth reflecting on why that is. I just asked my girlfriend here, well, what about you? Why did you never consider joining PETA or volunteering with PETA?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said. I don't want to be out on the street asking people for their email addresses. So
right.
They can
Asking complete strangers to sign a petition that you probably don't really believe in. And even if you believe in what the petition says, you don't believe them signing it will make a difference.
Yeah.
And asking them to donate $10 to an organization that already has millions of dollars, which PETA does, and where you don't really believe the $10 is going to make a difference, or where, you know, if you're looking at the annual reports from PETA, they do things. I mean, the money doesn't just disappear. I mean, it has outcomes, it has impacts. But is it a good use of your time, whoever you are as an individual? You may work at a gas station, you may be an architect, whoever you are, you have some set of talents that you could be using to support veganism. Maybe as a cook, you know, in a vegan hot dog shop, you know, actually running a restaurant, maybe as an illustrator and an artist making posters or storybooks. You know, there are so many creative and innovative things you could be doing with your time, including, yes, y'all, writing a letter to Congress, including, you know, going to Parliament and lobbying your elected representatives on some issue, including, you know, legal and political lobbying at City Hall. There's all kinds of stuff you could be doing that's better than supporting PETA. And that's without even raising question marks about whether or not PETA is a legitimate vegan organization, which a lot of us have qualms about, or, you know, raising qualms about the effectiveness of that use of your time and money. So now the contrast, what this guy, Richard, did in writing into me, he really put together a very effective argument because he contrasted what he presumed to be the effectiveness of supporting large organizations that have infrastructure and budgets of millions of dollars and hierarchy and the means to accomplish their goals to the imagined scenario of vegans splitting up into smaller and smaller groups, each of these groups having infighting against the other groups, each group feeling that the larger groups are somehow impure or tainted because of their stance on particular issues that may or may not be trivial. You know, where veganism, instead of engaging in outreach, instead of reaching out to other people, is increasingly an involuted and closed movement that's really about personal purity, ideological purity, about forming these very small groups where every member absolutely agrees with the political position of the founder or leader and what have you, and where apparently they accomplish nothing. Now, I don't think this guy Richard is, I don't think he's rendering a kind of cartoon, a cartoonish exaggeration of what's wrong with vegans. I think he's probably, you know, explaining, he's probably reflecting on real situations he's been in, real scenarios he's familiar with, where this is how he sees vegans behaving. I think I've had a lot of videos in the past talking about that myself from different angles.
Yeah.
However, I think this really is a false dichotomy. It's a false dichotomy to say, hey, these are ineffective small groups, therefore the large groups are effective, and therefore what he argues specifically is, in order to increase the number of vegans at this stage, what we should all be doing with our time and money is basically joining PETA, joining the largest, best-funded organization. Now, that's interesting because that's a specific goal he's reaching for. He's not wanting, changes on a specific law. We were just looking at horrific conditions on fur farms. It's a single issue cause. You can improve conditions on fur farms, and you can get support from all kinds of non-vegans. All kinds of meat eaters are going to donate their time and money if you have a specific issue like that. He's not talking about saving the whales. He's not talking about, groundwater pollution, saving a particular river, where the river is being polluted by the meat and dairy industry or what have you. He is talking about the specific issue of how do vegans get to a so-called critical mass? How do we radically increase the number of people who are vegan? I've got to tell you honestly, I don't think PETA is the answer on a large scale. And when you talk about it on a small scale, you and me, our time, our talent, our money, I don't think you and me standing on the street corner with a clipboard, I don't think that's the answer either. I don't think that's going to create vegans or ease the transition for vegans. And again, there's a real contrast just to you and I opening a small restaurant, which we can do. I don't think there's any comparison. And of course, we do so at our own financial risk. There are other issues involved there. If we pour our time and effort into PETA as opposed to running a vegan hot dog stand, I don't think there's any argument. Even within running the hot dog stand, I think we can say doesn't take any particular talent the way being an architect or an artist or some other specialized skill sets may, or a musician. I mean, different people have different ways of promoting veganism, but nevertheless, I think there's a huge impact for relatively modest input there. And the other side of this is, because again, I sympathize with this guy's argument. I think it's an intelligent, well-reasoned argument. I just think it's wrong. He talks about these large organizations providing their members with support, and that's deadly vague. What do you mean by support? My video that I've had translated into at least 9 languages on this channel, I have a video called On Community, my vegan manifesto. That really harshly contrasts the pretensions of vegan community that we often have here on the internet and sometimes with vegan activist groups, including Direct Action Everywhere, who claim to provide you with a community. Maybe some of these groups like PETA claim to provide you with support. I don't know what kind of support. Yeah. If you go out on the street and you hold that clipboard for them, what support do you get? I don't think you get as much support as you get by being in a Christian rock band that plays in a church basement. Again, the video on community talks about those kinds of comparisons at length. The kind of support, the kind of meaningful community involvement in your life that you can get out of joining a mainstream religion like Buddhism or Judaism is many orders of magnitude different than the relationship you're going to have with PETA. And obviously there are clear financial issues there too, right?
Yeah, right.
You want to jump in on that? I mean,
no, I was just thinking, being involved in a church organization, you get so much more benefit than you would from PETA. So much more support, with your family throughout your life than you would with PETA. I'm just trying to think of what he means by the support that you would get from PETA.
Yeah, I think it's next to nothing. But look, another thing that's interesting is most people do not join a religion in order to convert more people to that religion. You know what I mean? Most people who are Catholic and are part of a Catholic church aren't going there because they're trying to maximize the number of people who are Catholic. I think a tiny minority become missionaries, and that is their gig. But, same with Judaism, same with Buddhism. You don't go to the Buddhist temple because you're trying to pull in more people to the Buddhist temple, or you don't go to the Jewish shul because you're trying to rope in more people to shul. Mm-hmm. And very specifically, his interest is in vegans dragging more people into veganism, which again is only one of many goals or functions we can have for getting organized and being activists, right?
Well, I mean, it is true. If you donate money to a church, you probably are funding some missionary trips. So that kind of is...
Depends on the church.
Some part of donating to a church is spreading the religion. But...
in terms of your involvement at the church, you're not going to church for that reason. I'm just saying. I think in terms, there are different community and social functions to it, but that isn't really up there yet.
But when you're paying to be a member of a church, you really see every time that you go to the church what your money is going towards.
Yes,
the actual building itself, the actual members of the church.
Yes,
So. The leaders of the church, I mean, that's paying for them to be, and also running schools for kids. You actually see that in action. And
I keep mentioning as an example of a really successful vegan organization is PCRM. I don't think PCRM's main goal is to turn more people vegan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like PCRM has this list of things that they do, like, famously. So they challenged the egg board, claiming that the egg board was engaging in false advertising because they claimed eggs are healthy and eggs are not healthy. Mm-hmm. But like PCRM are not out there converting people to veganism like missionaries. And if you join and donate to PCRM, it's not this kind of thing. So again, I think different agencies perform different specialized functions, and some of them are very good at it, like PCRM. But I don't think an agency is going to play this role in your life that he's imagining, where it gets rid of the need for you to maybe have your own small organization or start one. He says also, as an example, kind of dismissively, he says, oh, well, it doesn't matter if one of these big organizations like PETA, if they have the wrong position on saving the blue-spotted otter or something. Say I think blue-spotted woodcock uses a bird, but like some specific species. And when I read that, it's interesting because I don't read it cynically. I look at that and say, no, it really does matter whether or not we save the blue-spotted otter. You know what I mean? No, I mean, exactly what makes politics and the personal relationships involved in politics meaningful and rewarding is that you care about this one species going extinct, and you want to get together and meet with other people who care about that species going extinct, and you want to make a difference. You want to have an impact on that. And you can at City Hall or Parliament or the Senate. You can do that with your group of 10 people. And with PETA, you can't. So that's deep to me. That really matters.
And I will say that if you do those small causes, it may reach people that would not know about veganism in the first place.
Right. People who care about wildlife conservation, people who care about some species of wild bird, but they never even thought about veganism. They never even thought about the dietary elements of ecology. You can go to when I was with the Green Party, you can care about that all the time. Sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just going to say, sorry, I'm blanking on what I was going to say, but yeah. Oh yeah. What I was going to say is he made a comment that people get a bad impression of veganism and just vegans because of this infighting, because of these breaking off into groups, and that if we were more defined, if we were more united by PETA, maybe there would be a better image of vegans and veganism. Yeah. And I just disagree with that, and I don't think people would be more likely to go vegan if we were all followers, if we were all mindless PETA drones. I don't think that would make
a lot of people do feel
attractive.
A lot of people do feel that PETA has really given us a bad name and image too. The sexy models and magazine photos and stuff. A lot of people feel that this actually a
lot of people are offended.
It's infinitely debatable whether or not PETA has helped us more than harmed us in the last 30 years, and it's also debatable, whether or not they're going to help us or harm us in the next 30 years. I'm kind of optimistic that they're going to do better in future than they did in the past. But if you're passionate about the spotted woodpecker, why not have a group of people that are talking to, I don't know, I agree.
members of Congress saying hey, we need to focus on wildlife preservation so that the species survives.
Well, that's also why I disagree with the Gary Francione approach of trying to ban all single issue causes, because you got to embrace the peculiarity of human passion.
Yeah.
I don't think you can expect vegans to be not passionate about veganism, first of all. Uh-huh. So obviously they're going to hate PETA or they're going to hate some other group when they step on issues that to them contradict core tenets of veganism. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, I think that's part of kind of the glory of, that's the wonderful thing about diversity. These people over here, they really want to work on this issue. These people over here, they really want to work on this issue. And through the internet, it's now easier than ever to find the other handful of people who really share those passions. So you're not working on something you're lukewarm about. I told you, I was with this group and they wanted to do just horse-drawn carriages. Mm-hmm. It was oh my God, of all the issues in veganism, the one I care least about or the one I can't support, where I'm not with you guys, I don't want to make an issue out of horse-drawn carriages. You know what I mean? This is leading with the weakest element. There are so many issues I am passionate about, but it's nope. I don't really want to make an ass of myself trying to, on the street, stop a horse-drawn carriage because the horse is being exploited. But hey, someone else is passionate about it, so fine. So he can do his thing, right? I'm not trying to stop him either. Yeah, but to me, it's wow.
I can also see their side, and to me, that is something that is completely unnecessary. Right. A lot of people will never be okay with just the getting rid of meat entirely. Right. But you can get rid of horse-drawn carriages entirely. There's really no reason for it. So I can see why maybe they would focus on that. Cause
I just say, to me, from my perspective, there are issues that are weak and there are issues that are strong.
Some people really care about horses.
So that's right. So those people can.
Yeah, there's a woman named Ren. I'm forgetting her last name, but she published a book called "Riding on the Backs of Others" or something. Yeah. So it's about, she was a horse trainer for years and years. And, then she went vegan and she decided against.
Right. There's all this stuff, like, the damage done to the knees of the horses while they're carrying people and stuff.
I mean, it's their backs.
But look,
anyway.
The perspective of Richard here is the assumption that being a joiner is being better than being a splitist. That unity is better than factionalism, etc. And that sounds, on the face of it, very plausible. But I think what's being ignored here is the extent to which you give up the capacity for having any personal initiative, for any personal innovation, or for any of your personal ambitions when you sign up for a group like PETA. Unless you're at the elite level of that organization. You got a new idea? You got something innovative you want to do for the future of veganism? Here's your clipboard. Get on the street, start raising money door to door, right? Like, you have the initiative and interest, and maybe you have specialized expertise. Maybe you're someone who's done a lot of research on a particular watershed, on a particular river, on the endangered animals in that river, or on the factories along the river. You have some specialized knowledge that you could take to City Hall or take to Parliament and make a difference. You're not going to do it through PETA. You're not going to do it through these organizations, right? So for me, it is not about vilifying the multi-million-dollar organizations. I don't think I do. I think on the channel, again, even my consistent endorsement of PCRM, who are not perfect, but saying, look, this is a positive example. They're a multi-million-dollar organization. We can learn from their successes and their failures. But in large part, if you want to have that scope for personal initiative, personal innovation, your personal ambitions, you either have to start your own group or join a small group, or you're just lucky. Part of virtue is luck. I wasn't born into a country that has a strong vegan subculture and where there are vegan organizations I can join. I wasn't. If I was born in Taiwan, speaking fluent Taiwanese accented Chinese, maybe I would be. Taiwan's way ahead of the game. If I was born even in Israel, I know in Israel, veganism is several steps ahead. Those are the two most advanced countries in the world for veganism, are Taiwan and Israel, by the way. You can go check it out. Maybe that would be different. But, I don't have the luxury of joining political groups where I can be a supplicant rather than an applicant. I don't have the luxury of doing that, so I'm in the position of trying to start my own thing. But by all means, if look, okay, keeping it all the way real. You remember I did this research recently on Direct Action Everywhere, and Direct Action Everywhere have this struggle and a new group taking over. And I remember actually wondering for like one split second, oh wow, I wonder if Direct Action Everywhere is going to change so that in future they're the kind of group I could join. You know what I mean? And then I just clicked on their next website for their current activities. I was like, holy shit, what the hell was I thinking?
They're going in and saving animals.
I could never cooperate with these people. I could never be a part of this organization. And obviously, in some ways, they're only going to get worse and worse. You could see the direction they were going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, because that's what gets them money.
Right.
That's what gets DXE money. And I was thinking about that too with PETA. What am I getting support from them through? What is PETA actually doing? And by donating money to them, I'm basically paying protesters, paying people to go out and protest, or paying them to...
So that's another interesting thing is, why would you raise money and donate money so someone else is an activist on your behalf instead of actually doing the activism yourself on your own behalf?
Yeah.
And I do think organizations like PETA can put you in that place. Right. And for some people, though, there's a positive answer. I think there were a lot of meat-eating grandmothers who care about ecology who just donate money to PETA.
Yes.
Don't give a fuck about veganism. And they are the type of people who have more money than time, and they'll never do any activism. They're never even going to write a letter to Congress. They don't even want to do the reading. They don't want to know. They just want to put that money in an envelope and feel assured that somebody else is doing something positive on their behalf. Mm-hmm. But I think for myself and for anyone who's even watching this video, because it's going to be a small audience watching this video, none of us are in that category. And all of us have some kind of talent or potential, whether you work at a gas station or you're an architect, whatever it is, you feel you can make more of a positive difference than going around as a beggar with a clipboard, Yeah. All right. That's a wrap.
À-bas-le-ciel.
For me as a vegan, it's easy to be self-righteous. It's easy for me to say, shut it all down, smash all the cages, set all the animals free. That's easy, But the whole reason why my YouTube channel exists is that I'm not really interested in easy answers to complicated questions. I'm interested in dealing with all the murky, complicated, moral gray areas.
À-bas-le-ciel.